calm down, calm down. And for those who didn't applaud, I know who you are, and you'll be trapped. Because this is probably, there's probably nothing scarier than doing stand-up comedy with a bad engineer. I teach a comedy class for the Ensemble Studio Theater, and the reason I do it is because it's the greatest scam that's ever come along. Because teaching comedy, if you want to teach comedy, anybody in this room can teach comedy. Because all you do is sit at the back of the room and say, well, that's funny. That's not funny. And part of the other reason that I do teach it is because I believe that there's a real need for comics. There are going to be two. There already is the HBO Comedy Channel, MTV. Are you talking? Is that for a drink? Okay, I just need to know that because when it starts and I hear voices, I get a lot of drugs. I have a tendency to panic because I'm not sure if it's inside my head or not. And no, HBO has a comedy channel and MTV is going to have the Hot Channel. And it's going to be 48 hours of comedy in a 24-hour day. Which means that literally 1 out of every 4 Americans will have to be a comic by the year 2000. I really don't know why I teach it. It's just become something fascinating to me. Partly I teach it too because I hate most comics that I see. If you want to change comedy in America tomorrow, it's quite simple. It really is. When someone asks, when a comic turns to you and says, where are you from? Bite them on the leg. And I'm serious. You'll do more for American comedy with that one act than anything else because you'll really find out if they're a good comic. I like that show, okay? Or you've never been to a comedy club where thousands of people say, where are you from, where are you from? The show's being taped tonight. 4 armed forces overseas. It's the first time many of them will see 5 women in a row. Now, the reason that people say, well, how did these people end up in your class? They literally walked in and I did a number of interviews. And I said, well, why are you taking the class? Most of them said, well, I don't know. I said, you're perfect, let's do it. There are just a few things I'd like to tell you about the room. I'm Louis Black, by the way. I am... We got a leg. Not nowhere. And I am, besides being, I'm the warm-up act down here all the time, I'm also the playwright in residence, which is a major break for me in my lifetime. Because I don't have to work in a theater, I get to live in a bar. I work here with a very talented group of people that I'd like to introduce you to. The 2 gentlemen you met at the door, one is Rand Forrester, our artistic director, and the other is Rusty McGee, our in-house composer. Rowan Joseph is our managing director, and the proprietor of the restaurant is Steve Olson. And the room that you're in is the West Bank Cafe Downstairs Theater Bar. This is the fall semester of our 7th year here. We work on a school calendar here because it's the only calendar that anybody seems to comprehend. We would like to announce in August we are doing a festival of bad theater. What we do is we get together writers who can't write, with actors who can't act, and we get directors who've never directed anything. Literally, they're just picked. If the color of the script is blue, we grab someone on the street whose shirt is blue, and we ask them to direct it. Then what we do is a series of short plays that seem absolutely interminable. We do not turn on the air conditioning in here. And then the Village Voice comes down and gives us a rave review. And you can pick up our schedule on the way out. It'll tell you what we are doing up through December 16th. And that is when we break for the Christian holidays. Which I'm serious to you Christians out there, let's cool it. Okay? Try to get your act together on Christmas, all right? Let's compress it to 3 weeks, all right? You don't have Jews running around going, it's Hanukkah, it's Hanukkah, it's Hanukkah, ha! having a great time, you? Every fucking single day for 4 months. I mean, come on. It starts after Labor Day now. Before football, even baseball isn't over. Oh, it's Christmas. We are presenting a Christmas show down here because I'm out of town. And that's the reason they allowed them to do it. Actually, on the Friday and the Saturday, a week from this Friday and Saturday, directed by Rand with all new material. It's called the Capital Gains Christmas, or What Did You Get? It should be cynical for those of you who enjoy that sort of thing at this time of the year. I do remember the folks serving you this evening, because basically their lives are just one of quiet desperation. Mark Hughes took my comedy class the first time I took it, and look where he is today. He got a true grasp of it, and now he just works back there and smiles all the time. It's scary to watch. And Cree is your waitress, so please remember them and be kind, because they really are. They're working down here as the equivalent of working the Port Authority Bowling Alley Cocktail Lounge on a non-league night. So please be kind to them. That is about it. This is Lou Black's Women's Comedy Collective. I taught this the third time I've taught the course, and this has been a real treat for me because this time I didn't have a man around. Okay, it was just me and 5 women. This was my idea of heaven. If some of the material offends you this evening or you have trouble with it, talk to me about it. 'Cause I was here alone with 5 women. I was in heaven. Okay? A lot of the stuff I may not have edited properly for them because I was gone. I mean, next to possibly, running a girls' field hockey team for high school, this is the greatest joy I've ever had in my life. I was very lucky, though, because they really are 5 very talented women. The first one is that I'm going to introduce to you came to me, and she said that the reason she was taking it, besides the fact that she didn't know why, the only reason that she had she's a classically trained actress, and she said, and then I came to New York, and I think that's a mistake. And she said that she'd been hanging out with a lot of people in the theater, and they were just too serious. It was getting way too serious. And she thought it was time to take a break, and I'm glad she did. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeannie Dorsey.
Hello. 'Tis the season to deck the halls, is it not? I went Christmas shopping today. I mainly got presents for myself. I tend to do that Christmas time. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I come from a very deprived childhood. My father never got me anything good. Hasn't really gotten much better. Last year he gave me a $20 gift certificate to the Salvation Army and 2 extension cords. You're wondering how I can say this about my father. Well, he's not here tonight. There was a $7 cover. He couldn't swing it. So I went down to Orchard Street. I like to go to Orchard Street because a lot of times lately I've been feeling, New York is really losing its character. It's becoming kind of yuppified. So I like to go to Orchard Street and have a middle-aged religious man show me various panties. It's an excellent panty. It's a beautiful panty. You could not find a better panty. And I think to myself, well, how does he know? And then I think, well, he's a maven. He knows the industry. Another place I like to go is Fishkin's Discount Designer Emporium on Grand Street. Fishkin is usually there when you walk in, the counter holding court. He usually has on some designer getup, tight designer jeans, a denim shirt, his big pot belly. The shirt's usually unbuttoned down to his navel, lots of exposed chest hair. No gold chains, though. He likes Native American turquoise jewelry, so he usually has some big Native American medallion, turquoise rings, turquoise yarmulke. And I gotta say, this man really knows from merchandise. He does. And the women really respect him. You hear him saying things like, Eddie, she's doing John Clausen Gray. Show her the shoes. Jose, Have you told Mrs. Needleman we're doing coats? Downstairs, Mrs. Needleman. Calvin Klein, Harvey Bernard, take a look. You can't go wrong. Another place I like to shop is Loman's. It's a bit of a different scene from Fishkin's. You don't have Fishkin presiding, for one. It's basically an airplane hangar filled with designer clothes at a discount, and a lot of ruthless women like this. So you go into the dressing room. Occasionally there can be a little skirmish about whose hook is whose. I hung my things there. I hung no idea. But once everybody settles down and starts trying things on, it's a real community. So if you need to know whether or not something works, you have a whole room full of Yendis to advise you. So, like, if it doesn't work at all, you get one of these. If it's a maybe, you get like this. Let me see. Turn around. Whose is it? Perry Ellis? You sure it's a Perry? Turn around. Well, I gotta say, if it were $22.50, I'd say it's $22.50. It's a Perry. You can't go wrong. But it's not $22.50. It's $45, and you're not sure that it's a Perry. And if it really works, they pull out all the stoppers. Oh, that's beautiful! Look, she's gorgeous. You know, it's too bad I already have a daughter-in-law. You're beautiful. This kind of behavior, if you're not used to it, like my roommate, she's from Texas. She thinks it's charming. I have a grandmother who is queen of the Yentas. So I find this behavior somewhat exhausting. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my grandmother. When I go to visit her, she'll put $20, $30 in a little baggie when I'm leaving and put it in my hand. But she really, she can be annoying. That woman, she has got advice. I'm an actress, right? So, of course, she's an expert in show business. So she'll say things like, Jeannie, when you go to an audition, strike one of those poses that they taught you in acting school. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. You should try to get into movies. That's where the money is. The best was when the first time she came to see me in a play. She comes backstage after the play. She takes my hand in hers. She looks at me searchingly. Oh, Jeannie, you were wonderful. I knew you would be, and you're so tall. How tall are you? 5'8", Grandma. 5'8", very good. Jeannie, tell me again the name of the play. Dance of Death, Grandma. Dance of Death. And who wrote it? August Strindberg, Grandma. August Strindberg. He's not a happy man. Tell me, honey, I really thought you were wonderful, but you didn't sing. I know, Graham, it wasn't a musical. But you have such a good voice. But there weren't any songs. They could have put one in for you. The playwright didn't write any songs. Well, he could have, as he heard you sing. He's dead, Grandma. He's dead, all the more reason he never would have known. She gets these ideas in her head. She can be relentless. When I was an overweight teenager, oh God, she was horrible. I'd come over to her house. I'd casually open the freezer, thinking maybe there's a pint of Haagen-Dazs that wants my attention. Jeannie, go easy. Take a chicken wing. Take a piece of fruit. The ice cream is for your cousin Susan. She's coming over with a boyfriend. They need some refreshments. You lose some weight, you'll get a boyfriend. When are you going to Europe? You make it your business to drop 20 pounds. You're a beautiful girl. You lose some weight, the boys will flock. Flock. Where does she get this language? What is this flocking activity that she's talking about? Who flocks? Nobody flocks. This is New York City. The men do not fucking flock. They don't flock. She would go to an early grave. She knew some of the men I dated. One in particular that comes to mind is a young gentleman whom I'll call him Ralph Schickman. He goes by an equally Garment District-y sounding name. Ralph Schickman will do. A friend of mine set me up with him, and he sounded promising. He's a successful actor. I'd seen him in a movie. He had a big part in a movie. He's very good looking. I was kind of excited about it, so I said, give him my number. So I get this phone number. Jeannie, hi! Ralph Schickman here. Yeah, Emily gave me your number. She said you'd like to get together. Oh, yeah, hi, yeah, she told me about you, yeah. What do you say we grab a bite to eat, say to East Village? Well, I mean, I've got to check my schedule. But then I hear this little voice say, oh boy, a day at a free meal with a handsome actor, you're not busy. So we arranged to meet. We're exchanging details about what we look like. And I say, oh, well, I've seen you in the movie. All right, yeah, so then you know I'm a handsome Judaic fellow. And I think to myself, wow, he's kind of conceited. He's kind of obnoxious. Then I hear this little voice say, oh, he's just a little overzealous, that's all. Besides, you're getting a free meal. So before I know it, we're meeting at the corner of 7th Street and Avenue A, and he proceeds to swivel around and say, what do you think? I got a new shirt 5 minutes ago. Huh? Willie wear. Looks pretty terrific, don't you think? Yes, sir. And again, I think, God, he's really kind of full of himself. And then I hear this little voice. Oh, he's just having fun, that's all. He's just excited about his new shirt. So I say, where to, Ralph? I thought we'd go to Christine's. Excuse me? Christine's, Polish restaurant on 1st Avenue. Great kasha, great latkes, great borscht. I'm allergic to beets. Well, you'll have latkes then. So we go to Christine's, not one of the more atmospheric places in the city, I gotta say. It's getting to know you time, and he starts telling me about his agent, how his agent loves him, loves his work. This casting person loves him, loves his work. That casting person loves him, loves his work. And I talk a little bit about myself. Then it starts telling me about his family. It turns out that he comes from a very wealthy family in New York, but his father is very parsimonious. That prick, he says bitterly into his borscht. And I think to myself, oh, this is really sad. I've really got something in common with this man, because as I've said, my father's pathologically cheap too. And I start thinking about my father and how when I was a child I would ask him for sprinkles on my ice cream cone, and he would howl like King Lear on the heath. And then I hear that little voice, oh, go on, share with him. He's not so bad. Maybe what he needs is a little empathy. Tell him your father's cheap too. Cheap? My father's cheap too, Ralph. Oh, yeah? So you find that you, seek your father in other men? A surprise, you're paying for your own dinner. Oh, dear, that didn't work out at all. So, you probably want to meet some really rich guy, right? Because really rich guy, he'll spend a lot of money on you. You'll be getting the affection that your father never gave you, right? You'll screw your head on straight about your father. He spends a lot of money on you, right? It'll be like screwing your head on straight about your father, right? I remain calm. Time to go, time to go, time to go. I remain calm. I don't want to appear brusque. I suggest we go for cappuccino. Oh, so you can soak me for more money. Throw caution in his face. Throw caution in his face. Actually, on second thought, I think I want to go visit Emily. Oh, yeah? So you can, tell her what an asshole I am? You probably think I'm a real asshole, right? Yeah. No, actually, I think you're really interesting, Ralph. No, he's not. You think I'm interesting? Yeah, you're very interesting. Oh, yeah? Do you want to go smoke a joint? Oh, you've got to be kidding. Actually, no, when I smoke pot, I get very depressed. Oh, really? Yeah, I get depressed, too. And my father stopped paying for therapy. Oh, Christ, I've heard everything. Don't you dare pursue this conversation with him. Oh, really? Your father's not paying for therapy, but isn't the idea of therapy that you're, dealing with your problems and you're taking responsibility? Shouldn't that include paying for it? I don't think so. My father's rich. He can pay for it. I don't think so. My father's rich. He can pay for it. Well, I think you should pay for it, Ralph. Oh, yeah? Huh? What if I'm psychotic, huh? What if I, can't function, huh? Then what? Tell me he's psychotic. Tell me he's a psychotic sack of shit, and he should probably kill himself. You're right, Ralph. Maybe your father should pay for therapy. But one thing is certain, you're going to pay for this dinner. Yeah! All right. Thank you.
The next comedian is, I've known for a number of years because she works with a group called Chucklehead, but she works with a group. Obviously has slept with 3 or 4 people in the room this evening. I know, I've loved Michael's work for a long time, and I actually asked her to take the class because I felt that she really had a kind of a gift and was a sick person in a way that I enjoyed. And also is the only person I know who is that bitter and doesn't smoke. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Houston. Adjust the microphone. I'm going to use the 1-foot method. Suggested to me by Rusty McGee. I'm not 5'8". There we go. Okay, I would ask you how you all were, but one of the first things that Louis told me was to never ask how the audience is. Just don't ever ask, because one of you might say, well, I've had a mild temperature and my stool is soft. So if any of you wanted to share that with me, you're probably going to have to just mention it to the person sitting next to you. Thank you. I was an actress. I decided that I wanted to go into comedy. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and they said to me, well, you know, I don't know about you in comedy. I don't know. You're not really bitter enough, Michael. I don't know. You know, comics, you look at their work. If you study any of the comedians, you'll see that most of them are fairly bitter people. And maybe what you need is, you might try waiting tables. It's worked for some people that I know. They're very bitter. You might want to try it. I thought, hey, I'm game. I'll give it a go. So I tried it. And, the first 8 years wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. It's really just been the last 2 years that I've really started to worry about my mental health. I'm rarely centered. I do things like angrily run through the restaurant with a pot of hot coffee trying to get people out of my way, or I'm psychotically laughing with 5 plates up my arm, 2 of them are dripping various tomato-based sauces down my leg, and the other 3 are branding something or other in my forearm. Once in a great while, I will have a day, one day last week actually, I came and I'd taken just the right amount of B vitamins, the expensive kind, the kind that actually assimilate into your blood system. It wasn't bingo night, it wasn't hug night, gimmick-free dining, I like to call it. I wasn't ovulating, I wasn't menstruating. I had even had an appointment with an agent that day where I actually made eye contact. So I was feeling pretty good about myself, So I walked into work, I'm ready to wait tables, and right behind me, in he walks, Mr. Showbiz Trivia himself, my work partner for the night. Hi! You usually don't work Fridays, do you? I say, as the B vitamins just seep through my pores and evaporate into the air. No, he said. Rebecca and I switched so I could go see Gypsy last night. Now, there's a show for you. I give it 4 stars. And Michael, you'd be real cute in that Tyne Daly part. Do you sing? I run. This guy constantly talks about the business. New
new actors, new movies, new screenplays, revised screenplays, dead actors, recently dead actors. The Enid Nemi of the food and beverage industry. You can run from this guy, but you can't hide. I mean, just when I turn on the espresso machine for none other than the sound of the hiss to drown out his voice, he comes back with a couple of people in tow. Michael, what was the name of Thumper's second cousin in that Bambi sequel? Remember, you used to do that impersonation when you counted out the money. What was that? I am a complete sucker for this kind of stuff. You know, he is the same guy that would say to me that I was really missing out by not reading all of Federico Garcia Lorca's works in Spanish because the English translation leaves so much to be desired. And I'm constantly badgering myself because I haven't memorized that bitch's monologue at the end of Paris, Texas. And he'll come in and he'll say, Michael, I have an audition on Monday. You have that play, Flood, by Gunter Grass, don't you? I really need to borrow it. Oh, you don't have it? Well, I was going to go pick up that Michael Weller anthology next week at Drama Books. I suppose I could swing by tomorrow before work and pick them both up. Now why should this bug me, man? Why should this asshole bug me? I don't know why he bugs me. I mean, why doesn't he have the Gunter Grass play? Why hasn't he done an 8-track recording of the thing and with him playing all the parts? And why is it that people like this know all the agents? They know all of them, and they know all the casting directors. I walk into work and I say, hey, I got an appointment with Joe Schmo at ICM on Monday. Oh, that's great, Michael. That's really great. You know, he's mostly a literary agent, but I think that's great. It's great that you have an appointment. Good luck. Fuck you, asshole. And you know, it doesn't matter who you mention. They know them all. Oh, well, I know him. Oh, yes, I've met her. How? How do you know these people? I mean, do you moonlight as a delivery boy for a florist or what? And if you do know them, why aren't you working? I'll tell you why you're not working, because every time you talk to anybody, you drive them up a fucking wall. But I'm not dealing with this asshole. I'm dealing with some psycho lunatic basket case in the kitchen. Now, chefs. There's a group of people for you. You ever wonder why they wear those big hats? Too cheap and too proud to go to therapy. So they just shove that shit up into that hat. And those little coats that they wear, they're actually simplicity patterns for straitjackets. And what a bunch of egos. I'm talking about ego lunatics. I mean, the one last night phoned in and he said he wouldn't be able to make it because he threw his back out power napping. I figured, you know, hell, it's Monday night. The prep guy has seen the head chef go through this 100 times. I'm sure he can cover for the guy, you know. But, you know, one hitch in the works, and every hungry asshole within a mile radius just decides that they're just going to come as quick as they can to my restaurant and give me shit. I mean, I don't know what these people think they look like. I mean, I can't imagine. Miss, can I have another drink, please? And will you ask the bartender to put a little booze in it this time? What is that? I mean, yes, sir, I was on my way over because the glow from that starched, white, point-collared Giorgio Armani dress shirt is certainly the equivalent of the burning bush. And I'll be right back with your drink. Now, right next to him is a party of 4, party in their minds. They've never been here before. They think it's really cool, about 4 years too late. Probably heard about it from their kids, who I carted and kicked out a year ago. And they're sitting there, looking at everything. Would you like to drink? Oh, a round of blue margaritas? Sure, I'll get that for you. Oh, you know, sometimes Tidy Bowl, sometimes Windex. is a party of 6 who have oh so kindly stacked their plates in a most creative pile at the end of the table, indicating to me to please take it away. Of course, when I was there 3 minutes ago, the bulimic in the black spandex was still pushing a black-eyed pea around. Well, no, honey, that's all right. I'm just taking a little break. Hey, why wait, sister? God forbid some of that food actually gets digested. So I pick up the plates, and accidentally an unused spoon falls into her lap. Well, I'm glad that wasn't a knife. Should I comment? No. She might get impatient and do a Linda Blair all over me. Well, I noticed that Mr. Giorgio Armani is staggered across the booth so he could sit next to his date. One of these very demure waifs who just simply cannot make eye contact with the waitress. Everything she wants, she'll cast her eyes downward and whisper it to him, and he in turn will tell me what she wants. I'm thinking somewhere in my mind, is it waitresses she's afraid of? Or does she just bring this asshole with her everywhere she goes? No, doctor, she's only been suffering from the yeast infection for about 2.5 weeks. Nice spokesman. Where can I pick one up? Well, so I'm about to head towards the kitchen when all of a sudden Armani grabs me by my upper arm. The plates fall to the floor, the hair goes up on the back of my neck, and with the bionic strength known only to waitresses who have completely reached their limit, I grab him and pull him out of the booth and proceed to karate kick him right out the front door. Now, I'll just tell you, for anybody who needs this information in the future, the snap kick is extremely effective in this situation because it engages the one leg in a rapid kicking motion like this, while the other leg, you can just sort of scoot along the floor like this. In this case, towards the front door, which is now being held open by a horrified busboy. Thank you, grasshopper, I say. And out flies Armani with his little empty glass still in his hand and the demure wave sort of flying behind him. So as soon as I get this asshole out, I hear furious snapping from some patron who's just sat down who has not made quick enough initial contact with the waitstaff. So I turn around and I let him have it. Takes more than 2 fingers to make me come, asshole. Maybe I've graduated from training camp. Well, I'll have to say goodbye, but I did want to show you something that I practiced all the way up here on the subway. I think you might enjoy it. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open the doors, and it's an Al-Anon meeting. Good night, everybody.
Michael Houston. You guys panicked on that. It takes more than 2 fingers. Yeah, and I'm a little disappointed. Hippest city on earth. That's why Dinkins is mayor. Yep, or we could have had Giuliani, all right? Okay, folks? I'm not saying. Just saying, look at what we got. Let's wake up. It's too late in the day. Love that line. And I did. I was there alone with 5 of them. What can I say? So I'm giving you part of what the basic curriculum was about. Right now, it's a pleasure to introduce someone who, she took the class before. She was so excited about it. You had to take it again. And No, it's a pleasure because she truly is a treat. I can't even say what I'm going to say because you panicked on that line. So needless, we'll just go right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Beth Kobach.
Louis Black, in the spirit of a good teacher, told us all to have a shot of tequila before we came up, so I'm still nervous, but I gotta piss. You know, I'm from Fort Lauderdale. I can't take this cold. I can't take Fort Lauderdale either, but... And Fort Lauderdale is like the world's largest zero culture zone, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like a black hole of art. I've been to the Fort Lauderdale Museum of Art. It's painted pink. I mean, you just know there was like somewhere a committee of 12 blue-haired ladies who said like, oh, Stella, let's paint the whole thing pink. It goes so well with my hair. There's only two things to do in Fort Lauderdale. Go to the beach and do drugs. And I tried to do drugs. I really tried, but I didn't have it in me, you know, and then there were the Bafas. You know, Bafas, you know, there were these little... They don't have them in New York? Maybe they only have them in South Florida. I don't know. They're these little kind of like hedgehog-like things, and they're really shy, and they won't let you actually look them directly in the face. They're always kind of darting out of the corner of your vision, you know. And I think they're particularly attracted to the smell of your body after you've done a lot of amphetamine. So one day at school, I'm sitting in math class or French class. Math class, French class. It was like 4 years of words and numbers coming at you, you know, who cares? It was one long class. I'm sitting there calmly taking a test, and this little fucking Bafa gets right on the toe of my boot. And I'm like, get off, I'm taking a test, get off my foot! Teacher's like, Mademoiselle, there's a problem? No, I can't stand these things in the room anymore! I had to leave Fort Lauderdale and come to New York where I fit in. You know, because like everybody's crazy in New York. Can you imagine being in New York and not being crazy? I mean, you would have to lie. You would have to make up stories. Fit in, because nobody wants to know how happy you are. Oh, I'm so in love. Everybody in New York is in love. I know why. No one in New York is in love because New York makes women so aggressive and it makes men so shy. It's true. I have 50, 60 exciting women friends, and I would marry any one of them if they would just grow a penis for me. And none of them will. I mean, not that I would either. I mean, what would I do with it, you know? Where would I put it? And it doesn't go with anything in my closet, you know? I do date a lot, but I date the weird. I was out at dinner. It was very nice. A restaurant, candlelights. We're sitting. We're talking about books. My line is, I love to read. I just find it so engrossing. He comes back with, you know, Lisa Beth, sometimes I sit on the toilet and read until my butt goes numb. I sit on the toilet and read until my butt goes numb. Check, 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 get me out of here, fly!
I had a one-night stand with an Elvis impersonator. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. I went to the show at the Beacon with a friend of mine. And we're sitting there, and I am minding my own business, and she turns to me in the middle of the show, and she says, "Don't you touch him. He's mine." I'm like, oh, shit, she had to say that. Now I'm gonna have to fuck him. Because you know, there are only two reasons a woman will go to bed with a man. Either she wants to, or she needs something to talk about with her girlfriends. But I was a little confused at this moment because I look on stage and there were like, you remember the show at the Beacon, there were 9 Elvi. I know there were 9 of them. And then was she talking about young Elvis? Was she talking about dancing Elvis? No, she wasn't talking about old Elvis. Hunka, burning raw. So she does everything. I mean, you know, she gets us invited to the party. We go. I'm sitting at the bar. And sure enough, old Elvis comes sliding up the stairs. Baby. And I'm like divided. I am of two minds because part of me is saying, Lisa Beth, you can't do that. He's an Elvis impersonator. But you know, there was another part of me that was going, Lisa Beth, you gotta do this. He is an Elvis. So we went to his apartment, and I got a little nervous because the TV was shut out. And I woke up the next morning, and you wake up the next morning in a strange apartment in New York City next to a guy who looks like Elvis. You're like, ha! I gotta go to work. I gotta go to work now. And I went to work, and you know I was completely useless because I spent the whole day thinking, I'm gonna get the King's Yeast infection. Isn't that the worst thing? You know, that's just God looking down on New York and saying, those white women in their 20s, they're not having babies. We gotta punish them somehow for their knowledge. Let's give them yeast infections. Let's give them urinary tract infections. I know from urinary tract infections because my father is a urologist. That's right. He's a dick doc. Dr. Dad is a dick doc. And he's weird. Oh, is he weird? He calls me up and says, how's the acting thing going? I said, well, you know, it's great, but the bottom line about being an actor is that you really, really want to work, and sometimes there's no work. He says, yeah. It's the same thing when you're a surgeon. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not. He says, yeah. Sometimes you just really want to cut, and there's no one there to cut. My father is an obtuse kind of guy. You can imagine what it's like when my whole family gets together, because they're all weird. You know, let's imagine, if you will, Passover at my house. There's Grandpa at the top of the table, mumbling prayers to himself, and there's Grandma at the bottom of the table, not mumbling obscenities for anyone who will listen. I hate this fucking holiday. I hate this fucking matzah bread. Why do we gotta eat this fucking matzah bread? I'll tell you why we gotta eat this matzah bread. Why? Because they were baking at the moment and the bread didn't get right. Who bakes? Get it. Get in the car, we're going to the promised land. Oh, wait, let me make some bread. You're going to want these muffins when we're in the desert. Now, all I can say is thank fucking God they weren't doing their laundry. We'd have to walk around soaking wet for 2 weeks. How'd you know he was a Jew? He was damn. And what about those people whose ancestors were in the middle of having sex? What, they gotta walk around with a 2-week hard on? I don't think so.
Grandpa got her back for this. Yeah, he got her back for this. We were out celebrating his 96th birthday in a restaurant. In the middle of the restaurant, he stands up. And he grabs his dick. And he starts pointing to it and shouting, "Prostate! Prostate!" And I was 70. They tell me I have my prostate operated on. I live to be 90. He finally did, much to his own relief, pass away. And we all went to the funeral, and what happened was not our fault. We were at the funeral, we were all dressed correctly. And my father is in the front, near the casket, and I'm in the back with some of his sisters. And a man walks in from the funeral parlor, and he says, "The teeth." At the last minute, we couldn't find the teeth, so we laid him out without. Is that all right? And my father from the front, help me, Jesus, my mouth just went. My father from the front of the room shouts out to the back, "What?" And his sister says, "The teeth! They couldn't find the teeth!" So Daddy's got a seed. So Daddy walks up to the coffin. Oh, I'm out of blood. So Daddy walks up to the coffin and he kind of opens it up. And his sister goes, "What does it look like?" Buster Keaton. So disgusting. So we go back to the house and we mourn in the ways that only Jews and Irish people do. We eat and drink until we drop. Because food is love and Pop-Tarts are some form of sadomasochism. And we're sitting there and the man from the funeral parlor comes to the door and he says, "The teeth." We found the teeth. I said, "What are you going to do? I mean, it's the last corporal remains of Grandpa, right? But I know what my grandfather would have said had he been there. I paid for those teeth. You ain't going to pull them out. You could do, they're porcelain. Put them on the knick-knack shelf. You could put a string on it, make it a cat toy. You know? He was always doing things like, make it a cat toy. He was always saying things like, "So, you have a boyfriend?" So I did. So I said, "Yeah, I got a boyfriend." "So what does he do?" "He's an actor." "A doctor?" "No, Grandpa, he's an actor and he's also a writer." "A writer? Well, I hope to God he can also read, but what does he do?" "What do you do, by the way?" And I said, "I'm a lawyer." "Because you're a lying piece of shit. What do you do?" I said, "Well, I get up in front of large groups of people and I tell them stories about my sexual failings." And he says, "Worked for me for 96 years." Thank you.
Next lady, you're going to see, it comes to a thing we do here on Saturdays called the Midnight Show. We do a free comedy show down here every Saturday night at midnight because we're fucking stupid. Think about that. It's the hippest time in the city of New York and we're just, come for nothing. And Johanna used to come down here and took my course based on that. And I finally realized why. Johanna sees things, I mean, I read the paper to find stuff, Johanna lives it. You're in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. This is Johanna Corndorf.
I'm organizing my skeleton. I work in children's daycare. It's a great way to kill your maternal instinct real fast. I've been working in daycare so long that I'm starting to look like a commercial for Garanimals now. I'm in charge of 14 kids with my partner, and we are basically in charge of nap time. And nap time's great. It's kind of like try to put these kids to sleep before you go comatose. One of the things that we try to do is like we try to create the Pavlovian dog effect, you know, like sing something over and over again, you know, over and over, so that maybe they'll drop off while you're, you know, rubbing a stomach here and a head over here. And I'm doing this one day, last week, and I smell something coming from Karina's corner. Karina is a 2.5-year-old girl. She's really cute, and she is way ahead of everybody else in her age group because she's actually toilet trained. I don't know what it is about New York kids, but nobody seems to be toilet trained before the age of 4. And so anyway, it's not a good sign when she doesn't smell so hot, because it means that, you know, she forgot that she's toilet trained. And so I, you know, while my friend is droning on with the swing low, sweet chariot, you know, I take her to the bathroom, and she also can talk, which is also kind of surprising. And she's really cute. She has, like, you know, long blonde hair, and you know, so then we start the investigation of what's happened. And you know, I'm buttoning her belt, and we're pulling it down, and it doesn't look good. And the first thing that she says is, you know, she's looking down at herself, and she goes, "I don't believe it." And I'm rolling it down a little more, and it's not getting any better. And she goes, "I don't believe it." And then we finally pull it off, and she goes, "Jesus Christ!" Well, anyway, little did I know that, you know, here I was dealing with real poop, and later on that day I was going to deal with some metaphorical poop to come. I live in Williamsburg. It's in Brooklyn, and it's really kind of an interesting place. It's kind of like, well, I think like they could do the next sequel for the Mad Max movie. You know, it's got that kind of future world look to it, the future that doesn't look so hot. And so, you know, everybody there is like a scavenger, you know, it's like, it's a kind of a neighborhood pride or something, you know, to be able to take those abandoned cars, those stolen cars that are littered all over the streets and pick them clean, you know, they look kind of like chicken carcasses or something, you know, they do a good job, and I kind of like that because I'm a real recycling fanatic, so it's nice to know that other people are into that too. I left Williamsburg, I left Hell's Kitchen to go to Williamsburg, and because I can't stand Hell's Kitchen. It's like, there's this yellow haze on 9th Avenue, and it stinks. You know, I don't know, at least my apartment did, all this incinerator smoke. I don't know where it came from. And in Williamsburg, I found this great place, and you know, it's right on the waterfront, and it's got this great view of the Manhattan skyline, the East River. Looks great, and it's quiet on my street. And well, to put it frankly, I just found out something not too long ago. I live directly next door to a holding station for radioactive and toxic waste. The 21st century, it's coming home. And naturally, I was, you know, a little freaked out about it. And you know, my friends are going, "Yo, I don't understand it. I mean, didn't you ever look next door?" And I said, "Yeah." And they go, "Well, I mean, what did you see?" And I said, "Well, you know, I see it like a barbed wire fence, and I see this place called Radiac." And they go, you can't tell from the name Radiac?" And I said, "Well, shit, I thought it was like a subsidiary of Radio Shack or something. You know, they're doing electronics in there or something, I don't know." So, you know, naturally I am a little freaked out. And so the thing I do next is I find out that that there's a neighborhood watch group, and it's called WABA. And I have this and they're like fighting Radiac, and I always have this picture of, like, you know, the stuffed animal versus Radiac, you know. What a stupid name, WABA. You know, how can you take that seriously? So I'm working for WABA, and you know, my assignment is to, like, get, you know, public awareness that there is this hideous thing in our neighborhood, in our midst. And so, you know, I take this, I make a mimeograph sheet of, you know, that there's this Radiac meeting. You know, they're doing their community outreach. And so I make, like, you know, a stack of this, you know, announcement, this public announcement. And, you know, I'm standing there and I'm passing it out like crazy at the turnstile in the subway station. And all I can think of, it's like, activism in the 80s is no fucking fun. You know, I look at newsreels of the 60s, and everybody looks like they're having this great time, and here I am standing out there by myself. Nobody fucking wants to know about this shit, you know, and you know, I don't want to know about it either, but I'm living next door to it, you know. And so, you know, after this glorious day of daycare, I went to the meeting of Radiac, and it's being hosted by this dapper guy in red suspenders and a little bow tie, and assuring us that this isn't a big problem, you know, that this is here. And you know, I read the WABA fact sheet about Radiac, and apparently there are enough chemicals there, like, you know, that we could have like another kind of Bhopal effect, you know, the kind of, you know, if things get mixed up a little bit, you know, the whole place could go up, and there could be this cloud that kind of descends on Williamsburg and up Greenpoint and the Lower East Side, and so I felt really secure when during their slide presentation they show a picture of a fire extinguisher on a wall. Sheesh, that makes me rest easy. And my other favorite highlight of the Radiac meeting was this is the evacuation procedures, or in case of a bad thing happening. And apparently, first thing that happens is this little this alarm goes off, and we got this demonstration on one of these cheap little tape recorders, and you know, it sounds like beep, 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 you know, and I thought, you know, why don't you just hire one of the dudes in the neighborhood, you know, they have the car alarms are louder than this. And then the next form of, you know, the next step of the procedure is that the Williamsburg police are going to go door to door and tell everybody, this individual doors, and tell each person to close their doors and shut their windows. Yeah. And you know, I'm looking behind me because, you know, there are these cops hanging out just in case there's a riot, in case we want to kill these people, and they're all going, what the fuck? I didn't know about this shit. We've got to go door to door if this thing blows. So, anyway, you know, I get out of this meeting. I've got a headache. My stomach feels sick. You know, I'm a wreck. And so what I do when I'm feeling this way, since anyway my diet basically consists of pasta and potatoes. I'm not much on anything except carbos. I decided to go to my favorite vegetarian macrobiotic restaurant to get some of those vitamins in. And this particular vegetarian restaurant is in the West Village, and it's really great. It's cafeteria style, so you get your slap by the pound. And you know, I mean, I don't go here for a good time. I mean, I go here to just pump the nutrients in, you know, like, you know, once a month or whatever. And I can tell everybody else feels that way too, because, you know, every time I go there, most people are sitting solo. They're looking unhappy, and they're just, you know, kind of shoveling it in as fast as they can. And I also notice, like, I don't know what it is about these, you know, these real, you know, the heavy-duty, strict vegetarian macrobiotic places, but everybody has these weird skin diseases or something. So anyway, I grab my tray, I grab my plate, and, you know, I go down the line and survey the feast before me, and everything has kind of this kind of grayish tinge to it. And so, you know, I take a little bit of the light green soggy stuff and a little of the medium green soggy stuff, and, you know, a few of these little round pellet things, because I know they're going to crunch, you know, so I like texture. And, you know, I go to sit down at a table, and I take a deep breath and start shoveling in the vitamins. And sure enough, I make the mistake of looking next door to me, because I feel like something is not right to the right of me. And I look over, and there's these two guys sitting there, and they're both looking kind of quiet, and they're not looking so good. And one of the guys, at that split second, projectile vomits right on his tray. And I'm like, you know, I've had it by this time. And I take the tray with my stuff on it, because I paid $3 for it. I'm gonna eat it, but I'll eat it outside. And as I'm sitting there outside, you know, eating my vegetarian stuff, I just think, what the hell, next time I'll just make it easier on myself. I'll just take a one-a-day vitamin and wash it down with some Pepto-Bismol. Thanks a lot.
What's interesting about, you know, about Radiac? Did you ever know of Radiac? Anybody in the room?
Yeah.
3 people. Yeah? One large yeah. And then someone who like, yeah. And we had 2 people running for mayor in this city, and nobody mentioned it. Rat fucks. I mean, just at least like, okay, well, there's this thing over here, and it's a little stupid. So, it's my pleasure now to introduce you to someone. There's a place I never go. I don't go to aerobics classes. Okay? And there's a reason for that. There's a lot of mirrors around, and I don't have sex with mirrors, and I certainly am not going to exercise with them going. And I need to watch myself sweat like a bull pig in front of a mirror. And it's amazing to me, because Alexandra is an actress, but she also teaches aerobics, which to me is like clinically insane. Really, worse than doing comedy would be teaching aerobics. And she's made the transition. You're in for a treat. Alexandra Rohde.
The reason why I'm here tonight is because my father would like to be here. When you come from a Jewish family, there are 2 things you got to do. First, you got to do everything that your parents tell you to do, and then you got to make them completely crazy. So my father tells jokes, and I just want to tell you one of his jokes. Okay? The King of Norway went elk hunting. So he goes out with his entourage. And suddenly, they hear a rustle in the bushes. They all stop. And a man comes jumping out and he says, "Don't shoot, I'm not an elk, I'm not an elk." The King of Norway turns to his gun bearer, takes the gun, and he kills him. And everybody's stunned, and the gun bearer says, "Well, Your Highness, why did you shoot him?" And the King of Norway says, "He said he was an elk." That's not a joke. You know, and my father went around, he told that joke all over the place, and everybody laughed. And then they asked each other, "What did he say?" And I don't know if that means my father should run for president or all his friends are morons. You know, they should have joke school for people like that, you know? Tell a kind of joke, joke school for you. Or like the joke police. You're not allowed to tell a joke like that. And they should have the behavior police. You know, I was in a restaurant one night, and this guy comes in, right? I wanted to hair and thing. Sits down at a table behind me, and he starts talking to another table. And all of a sudden, you know, suddenly you sort of zoom in on somebody else's conversation. All of a sudden, he says, "To love is innate." What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. He didn't say anything. And the worst part is, my friend turns to me and says, "You know, that reminds me of the guy you once slept with." You know, when you go to private girls' school since you're 4 years old, it's very hard to get laid. And after a while, I just started sleeping with guys to make my roommates laugh, you know? The story was funnier than the event. And then, you ever bring home a guy, you're on a one-night stand, you go home with a guy you're groping around, and all of a sudden, you can't find it. Shit, now we're gonna have to have a conversation. And I don't even know you. I don't even like you. Get out of my house. No. But one night, I had this affair with this Spanish guy. Real, you know, Latin lover. Beach, it's romantic, the whole thing, right? Here we're going, foreplay, we're going along. All of a sudden he says, "Are you ready?" "I'm ready, are you ready?" "Well, what? I'm ready to go home." When I was in college, I slept with this guy, which I didn't want my roommates to find out about this guy. But anyway, so we have, bada boom, it happens, and he leaves. And when he's getting dressed, he gets my fishnet stockings caught in the back of his pants, right? So he's making a clean exit out the kitchen door. He closes the sliding glass door, and he gets my stockings caught in the door. And he goes home. So I think I pulled it off. I come down for breakfast the next morning. There my roommates are sitting, and they say, "What is this?" I say, "Poltergeist?" "I fucked him, shut up." Then I met the love of my life. This guy was great. I met the love of my life. Of course, my father hated him, so I moved in 2 weeks later. Anyway, but he was a really cool guy. I thought this guy was really cool. You ever meet a guy and you think, like, he's autonomous? I mean, he doesn't even have a family. This guy's so cool, right? Then I met his family. Well, I met his family. It was one of these Italian kind of big Catholic families. And his mother's telling me all about having all these kids. And she says, "I had all these kids, they're hanging on me, they're pulling on me, and they're saying, 'Ma, Ma, Ma.' I said, 'You want me to stick a broom up my ass and sweep the floor at the same time?' I said, 'Nice to meet you.' I love the way they talk, you know? They had this thing with the R's. The name was Zimmer. So Zimmer so they said Zimmer. Had a brother Christopher. Donna becomes Donner. So now you got Donner Zimmer. I mean, you know, they don't even speak English, these people. What are they saying? So then we break up, you know? And I love it. He says to me, but let's be friends. Now, who is the asshole that taught anybody to say that? Let's be friends, right? I saw your dick. Why would I want to be your friend? So now I go on blind dates. And you know, when you go on blind dates, you learn more about your friends than you do about the guy that you're with. I mean, why does your friend know this asshole? And why do they think you should know him? I don't know. I was fixed up on a blind date with this guy, right? So he invites me over to his house. Penthouse, Soho, the cheese, the crackers, the wine was there. And he's a serious guy. We're talking, and I'm trying to, like, let's go somewhere. Let's do something. He's talking. And so I started talking stuff. Well, so what books do you read? So he says, well, you know, in my spare time, I like to pull out my Kierkegaard and read a few chapters. Well, I left. And I called my friend in Tel Aviv, and I said, who is this guy? He was really, you know, I mean, he was a tense guy. And she said, oh, didn't I tell you? In college, he took the bumper off his car, and he drove the car straight into a tree. I said, thanks a lot. You put me in a life-threatening situation with this guy. So my friends. But she convinces me to go out with another one of her friends. And I went for it, right? He's an actor, and he's fun, and it's great. Okay, tell him to call me. So we make up. I said, what do you want to do? I'm covering myself now. He says, let's go to Coney Island. And I said, that's great. Great, so I'll pick you up. I got a car. I'll drive. I'll pick you up. Pull up to his house in Brooklyn, and this guy comes walking out wearing wool socks, Birkenstock sandals, and a straw hat. You want to say, stop! Don't get in my car! The date's over! Well, I put my foot on the gas pedal and I drove away. I get it. No, but, you know, I'm really sort of into these, like, you know, crazy. I'm really into addiction. Basically, I'm really into addiction. I figured out the best place to meet guys is at AA meetings. I mean, come on, right? They're all really fucked up. Great-looking men, really fucked up. But they go to meetings, so they're okay, right? You always say, you know, like, you shouldn't drink, sweetheart, but suck on this, right? So anyway, no, I get fixed up with this guy from AA. And we go out, and he starts telling me all about himself. Well, this guy, I said, forget it. I don't care how many meetings you go to. You are really fucked up. But he tells me, he says, you know, I could have been a model. I said, yeah, I'm an astronaut. But I could have been a model, except for one side of me didn't develop as much as the other side. See, this hand is a little small. Well, before my eyes, his arm is shrinking at the table. By the time the entree comes, he's got a 2-inch arm. He can't even pick up his chopsticks. Forget it. No, so now I just sleep with married men. Married men are really great. They all say the same thing. You know, my wife, she got fat. And I always want to say, you know what? She's not the only one. That's why I teach aerobics. I teach aerobics, as Lou told you. And I just want you to know it's exactly like you think. That teacher's standing up there in the front of the room thinking, who is that fat pig in the back? And why are they wearing that outfit, you know? So the stripes, the yellow, you know, come on. Nobody told them, put on a black outfit, some sweatpants. And then you have those great people who don't want to do what you're doing. You know, that's always a treat. You're up there, you're doing your thing. I had this woman, she comes in, and she decides she doesn't want to do what I'm doing. So she's in the back row, she turns around, and she starts doing her routine. She went, that's great. So now the class is watching her. I'm saying, keep moving, please. The other thing is, when other teachers come and take your class, that's always a treat, you know, because they definitely aren't going to do what you want to do. And then you think, like, now we're having competitive aerobics. Give me a break. The other thing is, you can't be fat when you're an aerobics teacher. You ever have a fat aerobics teacher? You're going, yeah, you do 10 more leg lifts. So, I'm always on a diet. So I go to my father and I say, I'm on a diet. And my father says to me, did you have a BM today? I'm 27 years old. My father is still asking me, did I have a BM today? I've been thinking a lot about being a parent lately, It's a new kind of thing being a parent. This friend of mine says to me, well, Johnny's under a lot of stress these days. He's being toilet trained. I mean, we all got through it. Except, maybe I didn't. I don't know. My father's still asking me. Next time my father calls me and says, did you have a BM today? I'm going to say, Dad, I'm under a lot of stress. I'm still trying to work out this toilet training business. Thank you very much.
One announcement that I do have to do, because it's the basic pain in the ass announcement. When we're done, you have to go upstairs. Oh, yeah, what? Okay, look, it's not a bar mitzvah, okay? It's not like we're bringing out a big fish. Ooh, let's eat. Okay, we got another show coming in, and we have a big crowd for that. So be happy for the room, okay? Be happy for the room.
Do we have to pay again?
You will. In other ways. I will negotiate with me in the back. It's not like I'm tough to find. I'm not going anywhere. Just talk to me afterwards. Glad we can share this private moment. So we do have to ask you to leave, but the girls will be up and modeling their outfits. It's been a joy. Oh shit, don't crack. I am the Jack Parr of my generation. And it's toughy. But it's, at the beginning, when I talked about having women in class, you all went, ee. You know, that little, ee. For me, it's like having 5 daughters. And basically, the one thing I was going to tell you is, because I didn't panic about you, but you bugged me a little. You did, I'm serious. The times I expect you to laugh, you didn't. And I didn't give you my intro. My intro is because I didn't know how to do it, which is that none of these girls do this for a living. Getting on the stage is hell. And what it really is about, if you're a guy, is you might as well just take your pecker out, show it to the crowd and say, hey, what do you think? And to have 5 women like this is a total joy. We're ready to go to bar mitzvahs, weddings, anywhere you wish to have us. You saw tonight Jeannie Dorsey. Come up, come up, come up! Michael Hughes. Elizabeth Kogan. Joanna Cornwell. Alexander Rody. This is the Comedy Collective. Thank you and good night to the terrific audience.